Have you ever been discarded, disrespected, or completely ignored by someone you gave your absolute loyalty to? It is a quiet, brutal betrayal, and it screams inside your mind. The natural instinct is to react. You want to send that long paragraph. You want to demand answers. You want to prove to them exactly why they are wrong. Stop right there. What you are about to hear is not for the emotionally fragile. It is specifically designed for the man who is ready to reclaim his mind and elevate his status. The great paradox of human behavior is that people simply do not respect what they can easily break. If you react, you lose. If you explain yourself, you lower your value. But if you remain completely indifferent, you become a powerful enigma. Today, we are exploring an elite psychological framework that will make the person who hurt you profoundly, almost painfully, aware of your absence. You are among the few who are capable of understanding this. Before we begin, drop a comment with the word mastery if you are truly ready to take control of your emotional reality. The rest of you can click away. We exist in an era of hyperconnectivity, yet genuine emotional resilience has never been harder to find. Men today are conditioned to wear their hearts on their sleeves, to over-communicate, and to constantly beg for closure from those who wronged them. This is a fatal flaw. When someone hurts you or ignores you, the modern world tells you to seek a resolution, to have a conversation, to clear the air. But let us be ruthlessly honest. Seeking closure from the person who injured you is like asking a thief to help you find your stolen belongings. The ancient principles of mental fortitude, adapted for our modern chaos, teach us something entirely different. True strength lies in the complete and total withdrawal of your emotional capital. When someone decides your presence in their life is no longer valuable, your immediate and permanent absence is the only acceptable response. You do not argue. You do not negotiate your worth. You remove their access to you. Let us break down exactly how you execute this psychological reversal, step by step, and why it is the ultimate display of masculine power. The illusion of closure. When someone disrespects or ignores you, your brain demands an explanation. You trick yourself into believing that if you just have one more conversation, they will finally understand your perspective. This is a lie. Your ego tells you to avoid the pain of rejection. A strong man understands that disrespect is the closure. You do not need words when their actions have already painted a perfectly clear picture. Seeking closure is a submission of your power. It tells them that they hold the key to your peace of mind. Here is what separates a strong man from the rest. He manufactures his own closure. He accepts the reality of the situation without needing the offender to validate it. You must sever the emotional umbilical cord immediately. The concept of emotional currency. Think of your attention as the most valuable currency you possess. Every time you check their social media, every time you ask a mutual friend about them, every time you send a text that goes unanswered, you are bankrupting yourself to fund their ego. They are feeding off your desperation. When someone hurts you, they expect you to pay them in the currency of your distress. By refusing to react, you immediately cut off their funding. You leave them starving for the validation they thought they had guaranteed. This is not about playing games. It is about proper emotional economics. A high-value man does not spend his wealth on a bad investment. You must take your currency and invest it solely back into your own growth. The power of the void. Nature absolutely abhors a vacuum. When you abruptly remove your presence, your words, and your emotional reactions from someone's life, you create a massive void. The person who hurt you expected noise. They expected anger, sadness, or negotiation. When you give them absolute silence, the void begins to echo with their own guilt and uncertainty. They cannot predict your next move because you are not making one. This lack of predictability is terrifying to human psychology. By doing nothing, you are executing the most complex psychological maneuver possible. You are forcing them to sit alone with the consequences of their actions. This silent withdrawal is the ultimate demonstration of an unbreakable character. The trap of anger. Many men mistake aggression for strength. They believe that by lashing out, shouting, or insulting the person who hurt them, they are reclaiming their power. This is a fundamental misunderstanding of true dominance. Anger is an uncontrolled emotional reaction, which means the other person has successfully bypassed your defenses. If they can make you angry, they own you. True mental superiority is found in cold, calculated indifference. When you respond to a massive insult with a simple shrug and a turn of your back, you strip them of their weapon. They threw a spear, and it passed right through you as if you were made of mist. Master your anger, and you become untouchable. Embracing the reality of impermanence. One of the core tenets of modern mental fortitude is understanding that nothing is guaranteed to stay. People change, feelings fade, and loyalties shift. When you are hurt by someone leaving or ignoring you, it is often because you attached your identity to the illusion of their permanence. A man of superior intellect accepts that all relationships are conditional. The only permanent fixture in your life is your own mind. When you accept impermanence, betrayal loses its lethal sting. It simply becomes an expected variable in the complex equation of life. You do not mourn the loss of something that was never truly yours to begin with. You simply adjust your trajectory and keep moving forward with unshakable resolve. The metric of self-worth. If your self-worth drops because someone ignored you, it means your value was externally sourced. You gave a flawed, fallible human being the pricing gun to your soul. This is a mistake you will never make again. Your value must be generated internally. It must be forged in the fires of your daily discipline, your physical training, your intellectual pursuits, and your moral character. When your worth is internal, someone ignoring you does not lower your value. It simply reveals their inability to afford you. Here is what separates a strong man from the rest. He views rejection not as a downgrade of his status, but as a filter that naturally removes low-quality individuals from his life. They did you a profound favour. The architecture of silence. Silence is not just the absence of noise, it is a heavy, physical presence. When you deploy silence against someone who expects a reaction, it acts like an emotional mirror. Without your words to distract them, they are forced to look at their own reflection. They begin to analyse their own behaviour. They wonder why you are not crumbling. They wonder if they misjudged your strength. This forces them to question their own value. The architecture of silence builds a fortress around your mind, while simultaneously launching a psychological siege on theirs. You do not need to lift a finger. Your deliberate, structured silence does all the heavy lifting for you. It is the most deafening sound in the universe. The fallacy of revenge. The desire to get even is a natural, primitive instinct. You want them to feel the exact pain they inflicted on you. But plotting revenge requires time, energy, and focus. It keeps you tethered to the very person you should be leaving behind. Seeking revenge is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Elite emotional control dictates that the best revenge is massive, undeniable success, coupled with complete amnesia regarding their existence. You do not destroy them by attacking them, you destroy them by rendering them utterly irrelevant. When they look at your life a year from now and see a man who has conquered his goals and completely forgotten their name, that is when the true regret will crush them. The discipline of withdrawing. Withdrawing is not a passive act. It is an active, aggressive display of discipline. It is easy to send a text. It is excruciatingly difficult to put the phone down, walk into the gym, and tear your muscles down instead. Every time you feel the urge to reach out to the person who ignored you, you must redirect that energy into a difficult task. Channel that frustration into your work, your body, or your intellect. This is the alchemy of a strong character. You take the raw, toxic lead of disrespect, and you transmute it into the gold of personal excellence. After a few weeks of this discipline, you will look back and realise you have built an empire out of the bricks they threw at you. The shift in the power dynamic. In any interaction, the person who needs the other least holds all the power. When they ignored you, they assumed you would need them more. They assumed you would chase. By freezing them out completely, you instantly flip the dynamic. You are communicating, without a single word, that your life is perfectly fine without them. This shatters their ego. They expected to be the main character in your tragedy, but you have recast them as an extra in your success story. This sudden shift is intoxicating for you and devastating for them. They will try to find ways to test your resolve, but you must remain as immovable as a mountain. You have taken the throne back. The test of the breadcrumb. Eventually the void will become too much for them. They will realize their power over you is gone. This is when they will drop a breadcrumb, a random text, a like on a social media post, a casual question about your day. This is not an apology. This is a reconnaissance mission. They are throwing a pebble into the dark cave to see if the beast is still chained to the wall. Most men fail here. They eagerly respond, thinking they have won. Do not fall for this trap. A strong man steps over the breadcrumb without breaking his stride. You do not reward minimal effort with your premium attention. You remain blind and deaf to their subtle attempts to reignite the connection. Let them starve. The principle of asymmetry. You must adopt an asymmetrical response to their actions. If they bring drama, you bring calm. If they bring chaos, you bring order. If they bring disrespect, you bring complete absence. You never match their energy. You dominate it by introducing an element they cannot control. They want you to play their game by their rules. By refusing to engage, you flip the board entirely. You force them to deal with a man who operates on a frequency they cannot even perceive. This asymmetrical warfare guarantees your victory because it proves that their actions have absolutely zero influence over your internal state. You are the master of your own weather. They are just a passing storm. The shield of objectivity. When we are hurt, we view the situation through a distorted, emotional lens. We magnify their importance and minimize our own strength. To break this, you must analyze the situation with cold, clinical objectivity. Look at the facts. A human being with their own flaws and insecurities decided to behave poorly. Their behavior is a reflection of their character, not a reflection of your value. When you view their actions objectively, the pain evaporates. You stop seeing a personal attack and start seeing a predictable pattern of human weakness. This is what separates a strong man from the rest. He observes the chaos without absorbing it. He remains the untouchable observer. The art of being unbothered. Being unbothered is not a mask you wear. It is a state of being you cultivate. You cannot fake true indifference. If you are secretly hoping they notice how much you are ignoring them, you are still playing their game. True indifference comes from a deep, unshakable focus on your own mission. When your purpose is massive, the petty actions of insignificant people simply do not register on your radar. An eagle flying at 10,000 feet does not concern itself with the opinions of the mice on the ground. You must elevate your altitude. Focus so intensely on your own progression that you genuinely forget to care whether they ever look back or not. That authentic, unbothered energy is deeply magnetic. The illusion of the special connection. One of the hardest myths to break is the idea that the connection you shared with this person was profoundly unique. Your ego whispers that you will never find someone who understands you quite like they did. This is a biological trick designed to keep you attached. In reality, there are millions of people on this planet. The connection you felt was largely a projection of your own capacity to connect, not an exclusive magic they possessed. Once you realize that you are the source of the magic, you stop mourning the loss of the vessel. You can pour your intensity, your loyalty, and your strength into someone else when the time is right. They were just a temporary passenger. You are the driver. The re-evaluation of their character. Often we are hurt because we are judging someone based on their potential, not their reality. We fall in love with the idealized version of them we created in our heads. When they ignore you or betray you, they are handing you their true resume. Read it carefully. They are showing you that they lack communication skills, loyalty, and empathy. Why would you want to keep a person with those traits in your inner circle? A high-value man does not build his castle with defective bricks. You must brutally reevaluate who they actually are, devoid of your romanticized filters. Once you see them clearly, the desire to win them back vanishes. You realize you have simply dodged a bullet. The practice of negative visualization. A powerful technique in modern mental mastery is negative visualization. Imagine the worst-case scenario. They never reach out, they forget about you entirely, and they move on happily. Sit with that image. Feel the discomfort. Now realize that even in this worst-case scenario, you are still breathing. You are still strong. Your goals are still waiting to be conquered. The sun will still rise tomorrow. By mentally facing the absolute worst outcome, you strip the situation of its terror. You realize that your survival and your success are completely independent of their choices. This visualization destroys fear. Once the fear of losing them is gone, you operate with an elite level of freedom. The power of radical acceptance. You cannot heal what you refuse to acknowledge. Radical acceptance means looking at the betrayal straight in the eye and saying, "This happened. I do not like it, but I accept it as a fact of my reality." You stop fighting the past. You stop wishing things had gone differently. Wishing for a different past is the definition of madness. By radically accepting the present moment exactly as it is, you free up massive amounts of mental bandwidth. You stop wasting energy on what-ifs and if-onlys. You channel all that recovered energy into building your future. Here is what separates a strong man from the rest. He uses the brutal truth of the present as the foundation for his future empire. The forging of mental calluses. Every time you are ignored, betrayed, or hurt, you're being handed an opportunity to build a mental callus. Just like lifting heavy weights creates micro tears in muscle fibers that heal back stronger and denser, emotional pain tears at your psyche so it can rebuild into something impenetrable. Do not run from the discomfort. Sit in the fire. Let it burn away your neediness, your dependence, and your fragility. When you emerge from this process, you will possess a psychological armor that most men will never understand. The next time someone tries to test you, they will find themselves hitting a wall of solid steel. You will thank the person who hurt you for providing the resistance necessary for your growth. The supremacy of purpose. The ultimate antidote to heartbreak and disrespect is a relentless, consuming purpose. When a man has a mission that demands his absolute focus, he does not have the luxury of entertaining emotional drama. Your purpose becomes your North Star. It dictates your actions, your routines, and your associations. When someone ignores you, it is merely a minor distraction on the path to your destiny. You simply recalibrate your schedule and continue the march. A man with a purpose is incredibly intimidating to someone who tries to play games. They realize very quickly that they cannot manipulate you because they are not your priority. Your greatness is your priority, and greatness does not wait for anyone. The danger of nostalgia. Nostalgia is a liar. It edits out the red flags, the arguments, and the blatant disrespect, leaving you with a curated highlight reel of only the good times. When you are sitting alone, nostalgia will try to convince you to reach out. You must recognize this as a biological trap. A strong man grounds himself in the harsh, unfiltered truth. When a fond memory arises, force yourself to immediately recall the exact moment they ignored you. Remember the coldness. Remember the feeling of being discarded. Use that memory as an anchor to keep you from drifting back into the illusion. You must protect your mind from its own tendency to romanticize pain. Truth over comfort, always. The law of reciprocity. Healthy relationships, whether business, platonic, or romantic, are built on the ironclad law of reciprocity. Value must be exchanged for value. Effort must be met with effort. When someone ignores you, they have violently broken this law. They have stopped investing in the dynamic. It is a sign of deep insecurity and low self-worth to continue investing in a bankrupt venture. You must hold your standards higher than your feelings. If they do not meet you halfway, you cut the rope. You do not lower your standards to accommodate their lack of effort. Here is what separates a strong man from the rest. He is completely willing to walk away from any table where respect is no longer being served. The detoxification period. Recognize that right now, your brain is experiencing a chemical withdrawal. You are used to the dopamine hits of their messages, their validation, their presence. By cutting contact, you are forcing your brain into a detoxification period. It will be uncomfortable, you will feel anxious, you will have phantom urges to check your phone. Treat this exactly like kicking a bad habit. Drink water, train hard, exhaust yourself physically so you can sleep. Understand that the anxiety you feel is not a sign that you made a mistake. It is the feeling of the weakness leaving your body. Survive the initial withdrawal phase, and clarity will inevitably follow. Your mind will become sharp, cold, and precise once again. The mastery of body language. Your emotional state is deeply tied to your physical posture. When men feel defeated or ignored, they slump their shoulders, cast their eyes downward, and make themselves small. You must hack your own psychology by commanding your physical vessel. Stand up straight. Pull your shoulders back. Look the world dead in the eye. Walk with the slow, deliberate pace of a king patrolling his territory. By forcing your body into a posture of absolute confidence, you signal to your brain that you are safe and in control. If you happen to encounter the person who hurt you, your immovable, relaxed physical presence will communicate 1,000 words. You will project an aura of total invulnerability. The weaponization of time. Time is the one element they cannot fight. Right now, the wound is fresh, but as days turn into weeks and weeks turn into months, your consistent silence acts as a compounding force. Every day you do not reach out, your perceived value increases and their perceived power decreases. Time will slowly erode their justifications for hurting you. They will start to wonder why you never broke. They will start to feel the massive weight of your absence. Let time do the devastating work for you. You do not need to rush the process. A master strategist is endlessly patient. You simply hold the line, improve yourself daily, and let the ticking clocks slowly dismantle their ego. The elimination of hopium. Hopium is the toxic hope that one day they will wake up, realize their terrible mistake, and come crawling back to you with a grand apology. This false hope keeps you mentally chained to them. You must ruthlessly eradicate it. Assume they will never apologize. Assume they will never realize your worth. Assume the chapter is permanently, irrevocably closed. Only by killing the hope of reconciliation can you truly be free. When you accept that the bridge is burned to ashes, you stop looking back at the ruins and finally turn your gaze forward. A strong man does not wait for a resurrection of the past. He builds a completely new future on entirely different ground. The recalibration of focus. Your brain has a finite amount of processing power. When you spend hours ruminating on why they ignored you, you're stealing computational power from your own life. You are literally making yourself poorer, weaker, and less effective. You must violently recalibrate your focus. Every time their face pops into your mind, immediately pivot your attention to a complex problem in your work, a difficult physical challenge, or a strategic life decision. Train your mind to treat thoughts of them as a spam filter treats junk mail. Acknowledge the thought, categorize it as useless, and delete it instantly. This level of mental discipline will transform you into an unstoppable force in the real world. The inevitable regret. Here is a psychological truth known only to the top tier of men. Genuine regret takes time to manifest. When they first ignore you, they feel relief. They feel in control. But as you execute the strategy of complete absence and massive self-improvement, their relief will slowly morph into curiosity and then into deep, agonizing regret. They will see you leveling up. They will see you thriving completely without them. The contrast between the broken man they expected and the elite man you have become will create severe cognitive dissonance in their mind. They will realize they threw away a diamond to pick up a rock, but by the time they realize this, you will be completely out of their reach. The ultimate litmus test. Life will test your resolve. The universe will see if you actually learned the lesson or if you are just faking it. The test usually comes in the form of a late-night text, a checking-in message, or an accidental encounter. This is the moment of truth. If you engage, if you show anger, if you show joy, you fail. The only passing grade is polite, brief, and absolute indifference. You treat them exactly as you would treat a stranger asking for directions. No hostility, no warmth, just cold, factual brevity. When they experience this wall of indifference, the reality of what they have lost will hit them like a freight train. You pass the test, and you solidify your elite status. The birth of the unbreakable man. This entire process is not really about them. It was never about them. The person who ignored you was merely the catalyst required for your evolution. They were the hammer striking the steel of your soul. Now you stand completely transformed. You have learned how to regulate your emotions. You have learned how to walk away from disrespect without hesitation. You have learned that your internal fortress is impervious to external validation. You are no longer the man who can be broken by a text message or a cold shoulder. You are a man of true personal power. You have joined the 1%. They did not destroy you. They accidentally created the strongest version of you. The path to becoming emotionally bulletproof is steep and unforgiving, but the view from the top is absolute clarity. You now possess the blueprint of modern mental fortitude. When you apply these principles, the person who hurt you will not just stop ignoring you, they will eventually find themselves unable to stop thinking about the unbreakable man you became. But the ultimate victory is that by the time they look back, you will no longer care. You will be too focused on your own empire, your own growth, and your own undeniable power. This is the ultimate stoic reversal. Thank you for staying until the end. This proves you have the attention span and the discipline required to elevate your life. If this message resonated with your core, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Do not let this knowledge fade. Apply it today. I leave you with one final question to answer in the comments. What is the one thing you are going back to building today, now that you have stopped chasing those who do not value you? Stay strong, stay disciplined, and never negotiate your worth.